Three, two, one. Welcome back to Miracles Online Podcast. Thank you for tuning in with us. This is our podcast about relationships, dating, marriage, commitment. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm Jeff, and this is, of course,
Kat.
and she's got a wonderful topic for us to talk about today. So why don't you go bring us in about what you got right here for us?
What I got right here, which I know you will have a lot to say
I sure
about
do.
it.
I'm so excited about this topic, actually.
He's
because I
very
do.
excited, so I'm going to
Mhm.
let him do whatever he likes. So we're going to
Thank you.
talk about balancing the masculine and feminine energies.
Yeah.
Now, it's important to say that these core energies that we all have male or masculine. We all
Yes.
have feminine or female. We have both. So it was really interesting in going over in my research on the characteristics of these energy fields to really kind of re-identify what I already kind of knew, that I have quite a bit of masculine energy, and actually he has quite a bit of feminine. Of course, we go
Who, me?
Shutty Town.
Wow.
No, we all go back and forth, and
Yes.
we kind of knew this, Jeff and I, in the beginning, because also following the Asian zodiac, we're both dragons,
Yeah.
and so we knew our relationship would be phenomenal. But as phenomenal as it could be, it could blow up because of the very strong dynamics of our birth signs and of who we are, how we're aligned with our
Right.
energetic fields. So I'm going to just read off here for you so you have an idea. Well, what is that? Does it's not the stereotypical, like he just or again, it's we were born just magically, intrinsically
Yeah.
with both feminine and masculine energetic fields. So feminine core energy, and again, regardless of gender, desires to feel rather than solve. Okay, now I identify to that because and some of it can be environmental conditioning. I have a very I need to solve it type of mentality many times. Okay, values, presence, emotion, surrender, and flow. And you know what? I'm reading feminine. Okay, did I say that was feminine or masculine? Core energy. Okay, let's go back. This is feminine core energy, regardless of gender. Okay, you desire to feel rather than solve. Okay, so we're going to flip flop back. The first one is the dominant energy. If it's male, is to solve, right?
Typical.
To lead, to create direction. Right. Okay. So feminine values presence, emotion, surrender, flow, where masculine, and I'll tell you, I've experienced this in corporate America, values clarity, purpose, structure, and freedom. The clarity, I can't tell you how many times I heard from executives, get to the bottom line. They want the bottom line. It's
I do that, don't I?
You do that too.
It's
yeah.
like, what are you getting at?
Yeah. Just give me the let's cut to the chase here. Yeah. Okay, that's very much a masculine energy. Okay, feminine feels most alive when being seen, felt, cherished. Masculine energy feels more alive when moving toward a mission or a goal. Very goal oriented. Right.
I agree.
And again, we both have both of these. Feminine can lose connection to self when overgiving or people pleasing. I think that females do have a tendency more of that, quite possibly because we have the capability of giving birth, because we have an innate nurturing, many of us on the female side. So masculine can lose connection to self when feeling disrespected or directionless, without a direction. Okay.
Yeah.
an example thought, I want for female, I want to be fully received. I want to be held emotionally. That
Right.
would be a feminine energy. An example thought on the masculine side is I want to be trusted. I want to provide safety
Right.
and stability. And again, going back to our core DNA genes, caveman time, if you can imagine that, it is, I believe, built into, had been originally in the DNA for women to nurture and for men to provide stability and to protect and provide safety. Okay, so ask yourself, when do you feel most alive in a relationship, and what drains you in love? So I'm going to ask you that, Jeff. Maybe this will be kind of a, on the air therapy for us. I don't know.
Oh.
But I'm going to ask you, when do you feel most alive in our relationship?
Just the recognition of being in it, being aware of it. That's huge, and the reason behind that is it's a conscious effort when you're awake and you put the so-called the perspectives and the so-called the pecking orders. And I know in my life, our marriage is number one. So that being the first thing I wake up to, my focus to, and she's here, that is when I become my 100% immediately. And that's why it feels alive. The aspect of being involved immediately brings you to the level of A game if you're prepared for it. And again, it's hard to tell people to do this right off the bat if you haven't done any really hard look at yourself or having refinement to self-improvement. Because if I was to do this with you 30 years ago, I don't think I could offer my best because I didn't have a best yet.
Mm. So you had to discover your best, of course. We're evolving human beings.
What my best was at that time was the governor of what I had, the limitation of the belief system, my limitation of upbringing, my limitation of my experiences. So being in Chinese descent, of course, we were brought up very, machismo, masculine, men first, women, go clean house, make me sandwich. Wow. That was really the backwards of that culture. And it was taught. It was just absolutely taught. And it was ironic that I was thinking this a couple of days ago that, wow, as a kid, I'm thinking, when I get married, I can't wait because now I'm going to have a woman that's going to walk around naked all day and I can do whatever I want. And then she's going to cook me food and clean my house and wash my clothes.
Wow.
And I was thinking all that, of course.
Were you grew up in the 50s somewhere?
No, I grew up, like I said, in a very Asian, in that culture. Of course, that culture is backwards. I mean, they were bounding feet on females to make them attractive because they could be dainty all the way up to 1940s still. There's definitely the level of concubines, which is, prostitution, but there's also pecking order of marriages and mistresses in the Chinese culture, meaning that number one wife, which is basically the woman of the house, and then you have all these second, third, fourth, fifth wife, as many as you want. So they were teaching burying the feminine in the masculine balance. They were absolutely in so-called the plan to make sure men was going to stay 100% masculine true and not explore the feminism.
Well, I'm so glad that we've gotten past that. Now, I grew up in the 60s. I didn't burn my bra, but because I needed it. But I'm so glad that we are in this country past that. And let's talk about this, Jeff. Let's talk about how you changed your paradigm. And I know it's a series of growth and revelations and insights and so forth. But just give us the cliff notes on coming from that kind of archaic mentality, misogynistic mentality, to the elevated state that you are waking up and being in such a good place for this relationship that you're in with me.
for me personally was a different journey. I'm sure for everybody, you have your own
Sure.
dragons to slay and so forth. But the key factor when I went to that Making Love Works workshop prior to that, so from age being born to age 29, my paradigm was extreme masculine feminism. I was putting on makeup and dressing up like a drag queen in the 80s rock bands, right? So the hairband look was very feminine, effeminate, and it was accepted because it was entertainment. I didn't know what it was actually doing to my psyche or anything like that. I just knew that, hey, if I do this, this is the trend, and all the girls love it. And the whole thing is, well, what was I looking for? I was looking for approval, acceptance, and not necessarily, understanding, embracing love. I just wanted to be approved. So when I went to the workshop and then had that revelation that I thought my mother had abandoned me, so that I shut myself down. Then my grandmother moved, took care of me for 9 years, and then let me go to America. And I thought my grandmother abandoned me as well. Nobody wants me. So that clarified a lot to me that in my heart and within the deep child inside, I had this hurt from my mother about females. And that was what I carried against, well, I'm not going to let that happen again until I broke that. Then I was able to go.
So your armor,
okay.
your armor was released.
Yeah, it
at
wasn't
that
even
point.
armor; it was a brick wall
Sure.
with vines thrown on.
Sure.
Yeah, so until I was able to destroy that barrier, I didn't understand and recognize the importance of the masculine and the feminine in the individual. And if I would have understood that in the earlier days, I wouldn't have been, such a hole to people. I wouldn't have been such a bad boyfriends to girlfriends. I was.
But that's
really,
okay, because we never would have met.
Well, of course, that's the whole
met.
thing. Yes,
You were
that is
ready and aligned.
right.
As we've talked in past episodes, our alignment had matched. So I'm going to ask myself this question. When
Mhm.
do you feel most alive in the relationship? And I guess it's similar to yours in that it's the day-to-day, because we have the pleasure, the joy, and the challenge of working at home a lot of the time. I still run a staging and design company, so I do go outside the home and sweat in my warehouse and other sorts of lovely things with Houston weather. But I try to and really illuminate and ruminate on the day-to-day things, appreciate the day-to-day things. I feel most, I guess, alive. I'm going to change that word to connected when you and I are exchanging and connecting, whether it's sharing ideas about our relationship or with business or life, philosophy, etc. I feel most alive.
Well, there's a couple of things that I think that factored in between you and I. Number one, I don't think this is our first rodeo by any stretch. I think that in the karmatic wheel, in the after the same the previous lives, if you believe in multiple lives and reincarnation and things like that, then you resonate. If you don't, then oh well. But my whole thing with you is that the more that we start to basically enrich our marriage and polish and refine our relationship, I came to understand that we were probably husband and wife in previous life, but I was the wife and she was the husband. And
Really?
I really literally had impressions of that. For most of you who remember from my 365 consciousness podcast, I am a channeler. I've gotten information from our source, our universe, because I practice it. And this is an art that I've developed before I met Kat. But I do recognize the importance of why I have the skills and what I do these things, especially when I get this impression of our previous lives and why in this lifetime I'm being challenged with certain things and how I'm breaking the so-called the rigidness with this time around on certain things. And I accept that. And I accept that from a divine feminine, because it's the masculine of the yang giving, the feminine yin receiving. So this is a huge lesson for me for being a jock growing up, a Chinese kid who was taught to be such of a masculine machismo stud and all that, and then being in a rock band and carrying that attitude and so forth. I had to take all that and chip all that away to really understand myself. And once I got that, my life went 10 times more rich than I could ever imagine.
Well, that's when you met me, of course.
Well, there's that, no question.
Had to give that plug.
But remember, that's what I was saying to you, and I've told the audience on different platforms as well, that the moment that when I went to recognize that, okay, I'm ready for the relationship and I'm ready for the marriage with this special person, whoever this person may be, I knew that was going to bring the balance of the masculine and the feminine. And that was going
and
to
that's what it is,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's really a balance, because as I'd mentioned and I said earlier, I kind of eye-openingly but knowingly as well, in these descriptions of masculine and feminine energies, I see masculine on my side, I see feminine on your side, and vice versa. And it's that dance. It's not it's not that it's a compass. Your core energy is a compass. It's not an all or be all. It's a compass. And
it's your truth.
It's your truth, exactly. And it flows best when you're not trying to do what you think is desirable, but you're ebbing and flowing. And I think especially in a relationship, no matter what the kind of relationship is, that you're ebbing and flowing and being who you are. Yes, you can self-correct. I believe that you can self-correct. If you identify, if you're an over giver or an over driver, et cetera, you can monitor that and self-reflect.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree 100% of that. And that definitely brings up a point. Why don't guys like, feminine or women or girlfriends that is constantly giving you, here, I brought you this, here, I got you that. And, guys play that. And then we all point the finger at the guy being the villain. Oh, he's using her. He's using this. And he's really terrible to her. And ultimately, it never works out because it's unbalanced.
It's imbalanced. Exactly.
That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
And if you think about this, is the feminine, the woman thinking giving is being nurturing, great, not recognizing that giving is a masculine act and to receive is very feminine. And a lot of guys get turned off by that because they're
and again, it's not because it's masculine or feminine, because again, this is not you're feminine, it's the energy that we all have.
That's right.
But it's all about what we said earlier. It's the balance. So when we overgive, we're under receiving.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a great point in terms of, well, why do men get turned off by that? Because it's an imbalance.
Exactly. That's exactly what
and it shows insecurity, I think, for someone to overgive, hoping to get something back. It's almost like kind of a desperate energy.
Sure.
Right.
There was definitely a thought of, why are you trying so hard? And it's not necessarily just, well, I appreciate you trying, or I appreciate you giving, your effort into us. But it seems to be that you're doing it so hardcore about it only because it's about you.
Yes. It's a hope for love. I think when you when you overgive,
you're great, I don't want to lose you. So here, I'm going to keep on feeding the slot machine.
Yeah.
And that creates such an imbalance that on the male side or on the receiving side, you're starting to go, I don't enjoy this because I don't find challenging. One of the things that I definitely recognize when the first week when we were talking and haven't met yet, the history and the stories you would tell me on just the gutsy stuff you did, like running away to go to Venice Beach when you're a teenager. It's a pretty ballsy move.
15.
Yeah. And being a girl, a good looking, pretty girl, to do this, it's hardcore. And
that tells you how desperate I was to get away.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's things that I've always thought, just how hardcore masculine you are. For instance, walking to work because you had no car, but being a single mom, you can't not have a job.
I walked to, no, this goes back. I walked to work for one of my first jobs, I was just 18. I walked and hitchhiked because I didn't
Right.
have a car,
Right.
but it was a really great job. So I had to get to work. Some way I had to get to work. And
That's right.
I think I didn't have money for a bus, or maybe there was no bus lines. I don't know. But
see, that's what I'm saying. Is taking the reins, taking the bulls by the horn, is doing the things. These are aggressive, masculine, approach. Because you could have easily taken the, oh well, I'm kind of stuck. Let me just see if I can leech onto some guy, suck off of him, or let me go down to the street where the strip club is and get a job and dance because it's just so easy. Because it's just not challenging to not having to put out effort, not having to put the so-called your lifeline on the edge and challenge life 100%, because it's very easy to be laid back and complacent and figure out the most passive way to survive. When I say passive way, I literally mean that you're not going to be aggressive to reach your dreams and reach your goals, but you're going to passively figure a way out so you can be comfortable, relaxed, and just eat and survive that way. And that to me is an imbalance within self. Always is. Because if you're going to be passive, you're going to be feminine. If you're a man, you're constantly sitting that way. Pretty soon you're living in a basement in your mom's house.
So did you think that I was imbalanced with too much aggression, aggressive, or male energy?
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, that was the part that made me even more intrigued, more excited, because of the experiences I've had of having girlfriends that was overly giving, overly passive, overly unbalanced. And I was looking for someone that was going to be equally like I always said, I have to trust you to do a bank job. Right. That analogy comes from is, can I, trust you in setting the job up and doing all the things and have the car running ready
have your
to go
6 o'clock
once
to
we
get
run
away
out
car.
with the bag. I mean, of course, this is a hypothetical, but this is always has been the
the bank job of life, right?
Right.
There's a lot of components and moving
Right.
parts and pieces in navigating life together.
Right.
So I can see coming, especially if you had women who were the other side, the other polarity of energy.
Yeah.
And I certainly, look back and I look back and go, oh my gosh, how did I do some of the crazy things that I did? But I just know that somehow God gave me some sort of a soul compass. And I borrowed that term from Greg Braden, but it fits so succinctly to me. And I had this conversation with you, Jeff, is I was equipped with a soul compass that was do or die, find a way, get solutions. There's no such thing as no. You can make it happen as long as you're connected. And I feel blessed, so blessed.
And that's the thing when we met, and not face to face yet, but just talking to each other. When you tell each other these stories, this is where the exchange of understanding of yourself to the other self, and do you see a compatibility? Can you see this becomes the divine balance to you? And the kind of stories in the history and the experience that you were telling me, not only from your teenage years, but your first child in your single mom situation, and then all of a sudden multiple child and being a single mom. These are all great dynamics. It could be either be absolutely destroying obstacles that just flatten you and destroy your spirit, or you're going to rise above it and destroy and conquer these obstacles and reach your ultimate goals. What did you want? What did you look for? You told the audience, I wanted a house. I want to security for my children. I want to make sure they have a good job before I even look for love. So you had this path of greatness, and that path of greatness paved out by your divine masculine. Because that was not laid down and it was just, you could have, like you said, when you were dating, you dated guys that sit around that had pocket full of dough that could have easily just went, just stay home. But you didn't choose that. That would have been the divine feminine to just take that. He says, I've worked pretty hard now. I'm ready for love. And well, I don't really know if I love him. He's kind of cute. I guess I can learn to love him, but he's got money. Money. The difference between us is we got to know each other in depth about this self-awareness, self-growth, self-refinement on the level that by the time we did meet 2 weeks later, it was just you're
It was about 4 weeks later,
no,
wasn't
no.
it?
Well,
Was it?
we talked on a Sunday, and we talked every day for the following week to the next Friday, probably
For-
6 to 7 hours. Yeah, 6 to 7 hours every day.
where we found that
Right.
time.
That Saturday was Kiss
Yep.
at Dodger Stadium. She couldn't go, so that's why we put off the
Wasn't
next
a Kiss
week.
fan anyway.
Yeah, well,
But I was going to massage school.
so
Yes.
the following week, we would do these, what are you doing emails during the day, and then we'll talk, but no longer talking 4 to 6 hours or 7 hours. We would do maybe 3 hours because we come to recognize that, hey, we need to, go on a date. And that following Friday, that was it. And we went to a nice little Chinese restaurant, pulled up. She had a Jeep. I had a Jeep. Talk about, the absolute mind-blowing aspect of it. The key factor to me on just bringing all that together is seeing you in person. Jeep to me is a very masculine vehicle because I drove one. I know what it does and so forth. If she would have pulled up in a Malibu Barbie pink Jeep and
No, it was a 4.0.
Yeah,
It kicked ass.
she was very proud of this thing
Ragtop.
can climb hills, buddy. So she was not only a type of best friend that I could have that was, soft and cushy and lovey and intimacy, but she was also the best friend I could have. It was like, we're going to go climb that mountain now. Let's go. And she wouldn't be, my nails, oh, my hair. It wouldn't be any of that because it would be like, okay,
Let's do it.
let's do it,
Let's make it happen.
So that to me was one of the most exciting part. And this is also why, as more I study about relationship and myself and refinements, the previous life and the multiple lives and those type of things came to my consciousness. And that's where I recognized, wait a minute here. We've been through this many times before. And prior to that, you could have been my mother. I could have been your father. We could have been brothers, sisters. We could have been arguing neighbors. We could have been so many dynamics, but we were always together having a dynamic. And that's the key. And this time around, we had the opportunity to learn about the balance of the dynamics. And this is why this marriage has been fantastic. It's because every time we get into an argument or something like that, in the early days, of course, being a little bit younger and not have as many resources and tools in our pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, they would get ugly enough. It was like, how are we going to deal with this? I can't put up with this for the rest of my life. To now, it's like, okay, well, you're out of your mind. I'm out of my mind. Figure it out. No big deal. It's gone. And we have a resolution of it. There is nothing that is so imminent, so dramatic that we would say this isn't going to work, because we came to a conclusion that we are the best balance for each other 27 years ago. So we made a pact. We're going to do this, right? Yes. Okay. Then there's no else, right? No, that's it. We're going to do it. So until we are removed off this planet, we already have our number one rule set in stone. There is no just walking out and quitting. We just got to do it.
Yeah. Now, does it ever, do we have to balance those energies? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's having that Geiger counter, if you will, that gauge, and going, okay, there's a little bit too much yin going on, a little bit too much yang. How can we balance that out? And I think we've gotten good at doing that. So, for those of you who don't have the benefit of 27 years being together, just pay attention. Pay attention, because we all have those, controlling and or over giving or giving. It's not that we don't want to be giving, but, practice receiving if you're always giving.
Right.
And if, the opposite, practice the other side.
Yeah.
Use those muscles, those masculine and feminine muscles, so that you can play them like an instrument in your relationship
Yes.
to make it work and to balance harmoniously those energies, to make it work within your relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And that's the part that, excites me greatly, because of that every day you get a little bit more to add to it. Every day there's a little bit more of the feminine power. There's a little bit more of the masculine power, and the understanding of the glue that brings it together to balance it.
That's such a good way to put it, Jeff. And I've said before in the past, when you and I got together, I had said to myself, when I was doing my inner work and negotiables and non-negotiables, and I thought to myself, if not had put it on paper, I need somebody really strong, because I'm very strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think in the past, when a relationship or dating didn't happen or this and that, there was no connection. You had a connection, but they didn't, and vice versa. And I thought, well, what's wrong with me? I'm too this, I'm too much, I'm too that. Well, guess what? That's just the universe leaving space for you to where the right person who's aligned with you, with your energetic field, shows up, and you have space for them. So don't edit who you are. And Jeff and I through the years have learned, I know for me, and I'm sure you've learned that dance very well. I had actually thought to myself, I'm really tired of being strong. I've had to be strong as a single parent of raising three children, and all of my, past as a dysfunctional childhood, et cetera. But I wasn't willing to let someone just, here, take over. But I knew I needed someone stronger than me in the right places. And that's really where Jeff and I have really excelled, I think, because he knows when to be stronger than me, and vice versa, when to say, yes, dear.
Yes, I do the word cleaver quite a bit.
He actually learned that very young, watching Leave It to Beaver, which we watch Leave It to Beaver every night while we watch dinner. You can have a sneak peek into one of our rituals. Yeah. But he had this fantasy as a youngster watching Leave It to Beaver, and I guess he was a little enamored with Ward Cleaver saying, yes, dear, to June. And it was quite cute the first few years of our marriage, and actually it continues. There's not a day that goes by that he doesn't say,
well,
yes,
now
dear.
It's yes,
dear.
Your Majesty.
Oh, now it's yes, Your Majesty.
Yeah.
And that's okay. If I really want to ruffle him, I say, that's okay, Your Lordship.
Yeah. Okay, I conquered your kingdom, Your Lordship.
But I laugh about it, but that is so intrinsic. So I found my match, someone who was strong enough to lead me when I needed to be led, and to be my safety net, my supporter, my best cheerleader, but strong enough in his masculinity, because men who try to, and excuse me, men, if any of you are insulted, but any men out there who try to overpower a woman and try to control her, that's really a lack of self-esteem. And no relationship needs that or will survive under that. You've got to be. It's not healthy. Yeah. So I'm just so blessed and happy that we have a relationship where he is strong enough to make me feel secure and safe and my protector, but at the same time allows me the freedom to spread my wings and be creative and be my own authentic self, separate from him. And I do the same for him. And I think he appreciates that too.
Yes. And to wrap this up, I just want to say this, that you remember, don't ever deny someone of the gift of giving. Don't think you have to be in control all the time just because you're a man.
Mm,
Okay.
mm.
So recognize your weaknesses and find your balance other that knows how to fill that gap. I know I have weaknesses. How could I not? I'm a human.
Yep.
But I come to recognize that what I can do, she could probably do better. And that's okay with that. I'm not in competition with my wife. I'm not in competition with someone I love. I surely isn't going to be in competition with my best friend. So therefore, if that's all understood, then that's the first step to me to get into the next level.
It really is. And it's that balance that you talk about, don't be afraid to give. It's a gift to allow someone to give. We learned that from our son, right? Don't deny me the gift of giving, he said, as we were fighting over a bill for dinner. And that has stuck with us. Don't deny the gift of giving.
It's bigger than that, because the concept about the giving is to be in control of the masculine. The receiving is the divine feminine. And for especially us guys who is very hospitable, who is very caring, who is very nurturing, who is also a lot of times boss, right? The guy who's in control. We want to be, hey, I'll take care of this. Oh, here, let me get the bill. Let me do this. And to be able to step back and go, thank you. That's all it is. And that is how you balance yourself.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. Absolutely.
And with that, last words, parting words.
Just dance with your feminine and your masculine energies and let it take you wherever it takes you, because it is your divine, authentic self. And when you do that, you will align to your perfect mate, soulmate, best friend, etc.
That's right. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. And also keep an eye out for our Substack. We're going to do a his and hers type of write-ups, articles, posts, however you want it, blogs. So we're developing all kind of stuff to help you help the world into a better place of relationship, marriage, and commitment.
And online dating. And if you are online dating, pick up my book at at Yayu publishing.com. The book is Miracles Online.
That's right. And you can see it scrolls on the bottom. But until then, I'll see you next time. And I love you.
I love you. Bye.